Welcome back to ZNGP Today, Francesco. Pecco. Bagnaia returned to the public eye at La Gazzetta dello Sport's Festival dello Sport in Trento and used the moment to reflect on a turbulent 2025 season. Despite a run of difficult results, capped by a tough weekend in Indonesia, the three-time world champion offered a calm, measured appraisal of life in the Ducati garage and, notably, praise for teammate Marc Márquez. What began as apprehension about sharing a box with the number 93 has turned into a surprisingly positive learning experience. Ducati Lenovo has confirmed Michele Pirro will replace Marc Márquez at the Australian Grand Prix after Marquez suffered a fractured right shoulder at Mandalika. The injury, a fracture at the base of the coracoid process with an associated ligament injury, rules the 9-time world champion out of Phillip Island and the Malaysian round while he undergoes conservative treatment and immobilisation ahead of rehabilitation. On the eve of a potentially decisive Motegi weekend, Marc Márquez spoke to AS from the paddock with a clear-headed perspective on records, recovery and motivation. With a 9th world title within reach and headlines already whispering about GOAT status, Márquez downplayed comparisons to Valentino Rossi and framed his focus around facts, resilience and personal growth, not obsession with numbers. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Bagnaia admitted he was a little worried when Marquez arrived, aware of the Spanish rider's reputation for being uncompromising with teammates. The Italian's early concern reflected wider paddock chatter. Marquez's intensity and exacting standards can be daunting for anyone used to a different development rhythm. At first I was uneasy because Marc had a reputation for being a real pain for teammates. Riders often hedge their bets when a new, dominant personality enters a shared garage. Uncertainty about setups, feedback and internal dynamics is natural. That nervousness soon gave way to respect. Bagnaia said Marquez surprised him. Rather than friction, the pair found mutual ground. For Bagnaia, the veteran's approach has been educational, and the experience of working alongside one of the sport's all-time greats has been valuable. He surprised me. He's one of the strongest riders in history. You can only learn from Marc. Mutual respect between rivals in the same box can turn competition into a development asset when both parties are willing to share and adapt. Bagnaia recalled a convivial moment in Japan that underlined the thawing of any early tension. The duo met in a karaoke bar and shared sake. The anecdote humanizes a headline-heavy rivalry and hints at a relaxed off-track rapport that contrasts with on-track ferocity. Small moments like these often do more for team chemistry than press releases. They remind fans that riders are colleagues as well as competitors. Despite his struggles this year, Bagnaia reaffirmed his bond with Ducati. "I've dreamed of Ducati since I was a kid. It's my family." The comment speaks to deep loyalty even amid performance dips, and reflects Ducati's protective stance. Team manager Davide Tardozzi has publicly shielded Bagnaia while the factory searches for solutions. Long-term relationships between rider and manufacturer can survive rocky seasons when trust and institutional support remain intact. Bagnaia also reflected on the fans, contrasting motorcycle culture with football tribalism. He praised MotoGP supporters for applauding worthy winners, regardless of nationality. Off the bike, he's a Formula One fan, a supporter of Hamilton at Ferrari, and keeps interests that help him reset away from pressure. His fandom and family ties keep him grounded. Bagnaia's tone in Trento was conciliatory and quietly optimistic, honest about current struggles but loyal to Ducati and appreciative of what Marquez brings to the garage. If his rehabilitation this season is as much psychological as technical, those human connections, respect for a teammate, the comfort of a family, brand and the steady backing of the factory, could be the steadying factors that bring him back to the front. The incident occurred on the opening lap of the Indonesian GP when Marquez made contact with Marco Bezzecchi. Trackside medical checks and subsequent hospital tests revealed the coracoid fracture and ligament damage. Although imaging showed no significant bone displacement, the medical team opted against surgery and recommended immobilization and rest. Conservative management aims to preserve function and speed recovery, but it means Marquez will miss at least the next 2 races while healing begins. Ducati has tapped longtime test rider Michele Pirro to step into the factory seat at Phillip Island. The 39-year-old Italian brings extensive set-aside development experience and a long history of substitute and wildcard appearances. That familiarity with the bike and setup processes makes him the pragmatic choice for a short-notice return to the grid. As Ducati's principal test rider, Pirro knows the GP25 intimately and is used to turning up in race trim on short notice. Pirro's role will be less about title chasing and more about keeping Ducati's data pipeline flowing and validating parts under real race conditions. Medical staff have chosen non-surgical treatment because the fracture is not significantly displaced. Marquez will have his arm immobilized for several weeks before beginning physiotherapy aimed at regaining mobility and strength. The team stresses a return before the end of the season remains the goal, contingent on how rehabilitation progresses. Conservative routes can take longer to return full race fitness, especially for a rider whose craft depends on upper body strength and fine control. With championship outcomes largely settled, Ducati sees the call-up as an opportunity to keep scoring useful data and to evaluate components in race conditions. Pirro's presence allows engineers to continue development work while maintaining continuity inside the factory garage. In practice, the weekend will likely be used to balance race performance with validation of upgrades and long-term development items. Despite the setback, Marquez has expressed gratitude for team and fan support and remains optimistic about recovery. He will stay under medical supervision while following the prescribed rest and rehab schedule. Ducati and Marquez will monitor progress before deciding on his availability for the remaining rounds. Riders and teams alike now shift focus to managing recovery carefully to avoid setbacks and ensure a safe, effective return. Marquez's Mandalika injury is a significant short-term blow for Ducati and the championship narrative, but the factory's choice of Michele Pirro is a logical, low-risk solution, an experienced test rider who can step in and keep the data and development program moving. For Marquez, conservative treatment offers a clear path back, provided rehabilitation progresses as hoped, while Ducati balances immediate race needs with longer-term engineering goals. Marquez was explicit that history should be written by objective measures rather than fan narratives. He accepts the honor of matching Rossi's total, but rejects the idea that chasing that figure drives him. For him, comparisons across eras are messy, injuries, contexts, and rule changes all distort simple rankings. Numbers don't lie. In 50 years the statistics will speak, but careers are also shaped by moments, injuries, and feelings. The line reframes the conversation. Legacy is both quantitative and human, and Marquez prefers the former as the firmer metric. More than titles, Marquez says his true obsession was recovery. The operations, rehab, and uncertainty after his 2020 arm break reshaped his priorities and made every return a victory in itself. That fight back to world-class form, switching teams and adapting to new machinery, is the narrative he prizes most. Triumph over adversity can reorient a career. For Marquez, the path back to the top is the defining arc, not merely the trophies. His move from Honda to Ducati was not a headline-grabbing gamble, but a necessary professional choice born from circumstance and ambition. Marquez frames decisions as responses to situations he didn't seek. Stepping out of comfort was part of rebuilding. The first decisions are the ones you don't choose, the rest follow to make things happen. The comment underlines strategic humility, adaptation, not bravado. Marquez acknowledged his childhood heroes, Rossi and Dani Pedrosa, and admitted he felt closest to Pedrosa's style. He also explained the motivation behind his podium theatrics, the red suit/messy homage at Misano, as psychological fuel rather than showmanship. Rituals and role models matter. They sustain confidence and provide emotional anchors during high-pressure seasons. Beyond racing, Marquez spoke of wanting a family one day and of protecting children from the sport's risks. He also credited figures like Alberto Puig, Mick Doohan and Rafa Nadal for supporting him through recovery. The tone was reflective, a champion who measures ambition against life outside the helmet. The human side, relationships, future plans and gratitude, tempers the athlete's public persona and offers context for career choices. Marc Márquez's Motegi reflections are both candid and measured. Records are meaningful but not obsessive. Recovery defines his recent years, and personal priorities shape how he races and lives. Whether he adds another title or not, these remarks frame his legacy as one of resilience and thoughtfulness, a rider who values the process as much as the prize. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!